Welcome to the American Made and Paid Show, the home of free speech and independent thought.
The big story is freedom of speech is really in trouble. The far left knows that at any time they can call for a sponsor boycott of anyone they despise.
It is right here, right now, where you'll get your weekly dose of unfiltered truth.
It's non-negotiable. Pre-existing conditions will be protected. This president has said this as a candidate.
Insight.
Very few people I know could have handled it. We can never, ever let this happen to another president again.
And information that challenges the American way of life.
Welcome, everybody, to the American Made and Paid Show. I am your host, Zach Hing here. I got Professor Dreg with me, and the mainstreaming of socialism is becoming more and more evident by the day. We don't just see it just because of how progressives like to twist the language when it comes to so-called murder rights in this country, but we also see what people and how people respond to it. When something as radical as socialism, and yes, it is a radical idea, especially when we think about it in the context of being constitutionally conservative, what often happens is, in order for radical ideas to take hold, people need to be reduced. People need to be reduced to a degree of something, right? Usually that doesn't work when people are sovereign or they have an unshakable faith. So I want to dive into something that you talked about earlier, Professor Dreg, which is the whole Christian left. You also sent me an old video of what is his name? Cornel West talking to Tucker Carlson. And my first impression, for those of you who haven't watched it, there's a segment on Fox News from about a year ago where Tucker takes on a very prominent Democrat socialist, because that's part of the mainstreaming of it. This guy, I believe, is an intellectual from Princeton University, Cornel West. And the guy is doing his best the whole time to just diffuse, deflect, and paint the picture that this is an ideal utopia that would be good for all people. For all people. Everyone's equal. And one thing that you brought, I want you to mention what you mentioned earlier about Christianity, about the Christian left, because I'm going to tie it in as to how socialism actually, in a strange way, fits into all of that and why it's so commonly accepted. So,
well, we've been talking about this earlier and I honestly believe this, that the Christian left is very dangerous because they're the ones that are claiming that Jesus Christ is a socialist. But Cornel West literally made that argument to Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson had no answer for that. He goes, look, you're a Christian. You know this.
That's what but see, that's what I want to get at, because what is that doing with the language here, right? Socialism reduces people to group mentality. That is my point. That's why there are so many, like, you're right. There's a lot of fake Christians out there because of that. Hey, you're a Christian. Don't you care about the poor? Oh, I'm a Christian too. I believe in that as well. That has nothing to do with values. When we believe in Christianity, we believe in following in Jesus, being saved by grace and everything. If you think about it, helping the poor, is a good byproduct of the things that we're expected to do. But to use that, see, I want to mark on that and I want to focus on that, because that, for most people, they would miss that. Whenever a socialist, right, will go, well, you're a Christian. I'm a Christian. Aren't we supposed to be helping the poor? And then that's how Tucker Carlson got disarmed in that video.
Because but the answer is no.
Yeah.
No, seriously, the answer is no. We're not supposed to be helping the poor. We're supposed to help the mentally ill and the developmentally disabled, aka the retarded.
We need to define that for people, though, because helping the poor just by giving them money is not helping them in the long run, but you are helping them by giving them a job, by doing that. But when most people hear that, they think, oh, well, because you're not very charitable from a superficial standpoint, it must mean you don't care about the poor. No, that's not true. But helping the poor doesn't mean the typical things where it's just like, all right, if you just give them money, what's that going to do? You're not really creating infrastructure for them to thrive in.
Well, I want to kind of quote what Cornel West said. I don't have it memorized, but I'm going to do my best. He basically said this: socialism protects the less powerful from the powerful.
Right.
And he goes, and isn't that what Christianity is all about, or something like that? And then he's like, yeah, well, we agree on that. But then that's
slippery slope.
But that's not true. And I don't even know the New Testament. Oh, it's just crazy when I start thinking about it. But you know how I got into the Bible?
Yeah.
I'm not kidding you. I was trying to, because it's been a while since I've written anything.
Venus blackface.
Yeah, it's Black Star.
Oh,
So,
whoops,
damn racist.
Freudian slip right there. Freudian slip. My bad. That's my bad.
No, that's funny. Anyway, so yeah. So when I was writing Venus Black Star, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna read the Bible because but every great writer has gotten their stories from the Bible. It's a variation of some biblical.
Yeah, of course. It's the original.
What's that? Chaucer, all the greatest writers of our time.
Neil Gaiman, even the people that appropriate it for it's like
even Ayn Rand. Even Ayn Rand, like Ayn Rand, but I like to call her Anne. Even she got her philosophy from the Bible. It's not a joke. She just doesn't believe in Jesus or God, but it's still that philosophy is literally in the Bible. But that said, so I thought, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna steal something from the Bible. So then I started, when you read a book, you start from the beginning, and then, man, I swear to God, it took me like over a year to read Genesis.
Really?
Yeah, because it's complicated. How do you think I came up with all of these things and math formulas and because it's already like, if you're a real scientist,
yeah,
you read the first 3 sentences in the Bible, you automatically know that's the Big Bang Theory. It's not a joke. And then like with Exodus, dude, that's the inverse of the theory of relativity. It's right. It's amazing. But anyway, so it takes a long time to honestly read the Bible. But that's how I, Venus Black Star actually comes from the 6th day, because in Genesis,
6th-day humans, right? They're different from
than Adam and Eve. They're not the same. God made Adam and Eve different than he made the guys from the 6th day. Those are 2 separate. I mean, maybe
Sasquatch and caveman and
but the thing is, like, honestly, we don't know because we weren't there, and it's not that specific because Adam and Eve is so important because that's Moses' lineage. And,
right.
So, and I think that's why the focus is on Adam and Eve. So we really don't know much about all the science in there. So like,
it's probably also not relevant for us, right?
Well, no, it's very relevant because like so like Bill Nye, the science guy, he claims that global warming as it is right now is 100% caused by humans.
Mm-hmm.
And that's such BS. but the Bible clearly, no, because it is. No, but the funny thing is, the Bible in Genesis chapter 1 and 2 clearly explains the climate and how it changes. But not in like specific details, but you can figure it out.
Before we go too far, how does this tie into Cornel West? Because people are thinking.
Anyway, but this is okay. So this is what they do. The powerful, because I was not a powerful person. I have, like people like me, people in the hood and the ghetto, we don't get the Bible. We just don't get it. People don't read it to us. We don't get explained. Like nobody explains it to us. But people like Cornel West and people from Princeton, Harvard, Yale, they get it. They get the Bible. So they're the powerful. So when Cornel West makes a statement, how, socialism will protect the less powerful from the powerful because we stick up for those little guys and blah, 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 blah. So they're the ones claiming to be the gods because that's their belief. Their belief is that the government is God. Your protections come from the government, not from yourself, not from God, not from any of that stuff.
Right.
And so anyway, so Cornel West, even though he's black, he is still an elite person. He is still a powerful person. And his whole get down is to ensure that people like you and me never get to where he's at, because we will threaten their ability to make money,
right?
To have influence over people.
Oh, and that's the thing is, if you think about it, right, you're absolutely right, but this is also just because I want to tie it in for our listeners. What we said originally was basically how he addressed Tucker Carlson, because here's the thing: outward democratic socialists that want to hold on to their progressive power are not actually going to antagonize, not in the way that you would think. That's why language is so important for people to understand what is going on. When he said that statement, I'm a Christian, you're a Christian, that right there. No, but see, I caught that. But most people would be like, "Oh, well, that's not the point." You know what I mean? But
he doesn't understand. But that's, and I've been saying this to you for I don't know how many episodes, but it's the truth. Tucker Carlson is on the right. He is the Christian right.
Yeah.
And he does not know Christianity. I've never read the New Testament, although I did walk by the first Chinese Southern Baptist church.
Why don't you go in next time and actually listen to a sermon?
No, but on the wall it says something about it was John something. It says something, but like, I came here to give you life and life with abundance. And it goes back to what I was saying. It's all about economics, because I don't know, like,
Jesus wanted us to have money so we could help people, right? But the thing is, the Bible does say stuff like, don't be in love with money, because that's a form of the carnal mind. Because you know what I mean? Like, you have to be able to make money, but not be in love with making money. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, see, but I
was just talking to someone this morning about that, who's the same deal. He's like a conservative. He's like, no, like, we were supposed to have money. You're not supposed to have debt. What a lot of people have now is debt. If that debt was flipped and you had that money and debt that you had, we'd have a very different society on our hands,
Yeah, no, well, see, but you're exactly right on that. It's debt is, that's a
debt
fool's
is
game.
Death culture.
No, but it's the truth. It's a fool's game. It really is. People don't understand that, but it's a fool. But anyway, but going back to this thing about Christianity, but Cornel West is claiming that he is a Christian. He understands the Bible and Jesus, and people believe him because of his degrees.
Right.
People believe it because why? I mean, he is from Princeton. I mean, and he's black, so why wouldn't he know this? So, but my thing is like this. When people honestly do not understand what it means to help other people, because here's the thing. When you help the poor, everybody's focused on helping the poor. What does that say about you as a person?
That you're caring.
No. It's actually the opposite. It means you're an ass. If you really help the poor, that's your get down, you're an ass. Because why? You honestly believe they can't help themselves. And then you honestly don't believe that in Jesus's word, because Jesus, I mean, I don't know, but I'm guessing just from reading that thing on the wall, it kind of confirms what I do know, that being poor, you're still rich, especially in this country. There is no such thing as the poor in this country. There is no low, middle class.
Not. I'm gonna say not in the context of India or Bangladesh or China or anything.
Yeah, or even Mexico or even Canada. Come on, the people living on the streets have it better than half the people in Canada. It's the truth. These guys get good meals, good drugs.
Good drugs.
But it's the truth. They don't have to pay for anything. and they get free. I mean, shoot, they get, seriously, they're having a seizure. Guess what happens? The doctors come to them. They get curbside service. And so to believe that, and all you're doing is just encouraging these homeless people to be homeless. And why? How? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. Everybody who helps the poor intends to do well, not knowing that they're creating a path to hell for everybody. Because look what's happening in the streets. Poop everywhere. We're going to get sick from all that fecal matter.
Yeah. Well, San Francisco is the farthest left example of just economic disparity as far as the differences, right? I'm not talking about inequality here. I'm talking about the disparity, because on the one hand, you got you probably also have the highest percentage of nonprofits dedicated to equalizing people, and look at what it got you.
No, and look at the people who run the nonprofits, a bunch of uneducated
money.
Yeah, no, but that's my point. Helping the poor isn't what Jesus wanted. I believe Jesus had a specific plan. He told us who they were. Those, and this is why abortion's bad. Because for some reason, some way, somehow, God made the retarded. He made the mentally ill. He made deformed people. That's just a part of life. That, and those people shouldn't be aborted at all. That's our test. That's what I believe. Our test is how we treat those people will determine, what heaven is. Is earth heaven? Is earth a paradise? Well, right now, no. I got to step over poop. That's not paradise. But when we learn to take care of the weakest and stop giving those who are capable means to be incapable, well, we're always going to live in this shithole. But nobody seems to recognize that. Nobody seems to know that.
I think they know it, but no one wants to do anything about it. Like San Francisco is a good example of that, because here's the deal. Like I gotta say, when I was there, like I'm by no means exempt from this, but people are, when you live in San Francisco, and I'm gonna say this, myself included, when I was there, it's hard to not be a hypocrite. Like,
okay.
You know what I mean?
I don't know why, but go on.
Because it's just like a lot of people will express a lot of care for people who have it worse than them, right? That's why they're advocates of all this types of profit sharing and equality and progressivism, but you see nothing but that. San Francisco is like a mini Venezuela to some degree, just in some cases, right? So when I say hypocrisy, I don't necessarily mean blatantly, but I mean the people who talk about how bad it is, but you're living in your, and this is not me saying this. I'm like saying, like, if you honestly didn't care that much and you came out and you just said that, that's fine. But it's the people who say that they care about it and they actually don't. And then you run your nonprofits, but your nonprofit does $24 million a year. Like your Tenderloin Development Housing Corporation, or you know what I mean, right? It's you own like 400 buildings in San Francisco. Executive director gets paid like $5 million a year, and I'm like,
see, but here's the thing. Here's the difference from San Francisco and Venezuela. The poor in the poor here, the homeless people, they will be given diapers if they need diapers. Or in Venezuela, they don't have diapers. They don't do, like, people literally eat out of the trash. People, it's like, like when you see somebody eating out of the trash in San Francisco, it's because they're crazy. Mm-hmm. But usually, like, okay, so like, who's mentally ill and who's not. The mentally ill people eat out of the trash. They might even eat their own poop, and you'll see that in the city, in San Francisco. But the regular people who aren't, they're just drug addicts, they always got Jack in a Box bags or Chipotle bag. Like, they'll always have food. And then they're the ones using those free toilets down on the, because they got this thing where you can go take a shower and, like, on taxpayers' money, they have portable showers and porta potties.
Right.
And, so they don't have that in Venezuela. In Venezuela, the powerful exploited all the people, and all the people suffer. There's very few rich people in Venezuela left.
Right.
And those people are the elite, and, and they give the shekels to, the people to, to those people, just enough people to maintain their power.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what Cornel West is doing, the same thing. He gives just enough information to those less educated than him, and he gets them to, to do his bidding.
That's right.
And that's what makes these guys so dangerous. And that's why I make a plea to Christians, like, you guys really have to study what Christianity is all about. Because here's the thing. Why? Because because I don't know, like, because a lot of things you tell me just goes through my mind, and then I'm trying to think about it in a, because I can't stop my mind from thinking in a mathematical way.
And you know what? Here's the thing I have to say before we go any further. It's like, it may be a lot for some people. Like, people don't think on the same level you do. They just don't. They're not as intelligent, right? So sometimes I have to also, I don't know how to say this, but it may be a lot to digest, like knowing what the values are and then having a solution right away. Some people don't know that these are the solutions, the things that you say. And that may very well be the case for a lot of folks who have good intentions, right? But don't really know that the extent of it is futile. It may not be helping people the way you would like it to. But here the idea is, I get that, the whole intentions thing, but like, come on, man, not everybody is as smart as you are.
No, but it has nothing to do with them. But it's not even smart.
Well, with the solutions, I mean, like, here's a solution for the people here.
Well, but because this is what I'll say about, I'm not that smart. It's no, but think about this stuff has been said in Star Trek, which amazes me. Like, Star Trek is all based on the Bible. It's like everything from Star Trek is some kind of biblical story, and it's just amazing. So, but they took it to an extreme, which makes it like so cool, you know what I mean? But because, come on, the whole concept of time travel is in the Bible. The multiverse is in the Bible, because you have one set of things happen. God resets time.
What?
And boom. Yeah, he set the day back 24 hours, and he allowed that guy to defeat. It's like I forgot, but it wasn't David and Goliath. It was another. It was.
Again, I'm saying what, not because I don't believe you. It's because I want to look this up myself. I don't know.
Yeah, it's in the Bible. It's in the first couple of books. It's in the beginning. Because, man, but that's, I hate to go back to saying, like, Jews just don't get it. Like, they're warlike creatures, but and that's because they don't understand what Jesus was saying. But like, because I saw another video, and that Jordan B. Scott, what's his name?
Peterson?
Yeah, you know what he said? Remember I told you, we talked about this yesterday, and I said, because in the old days, I was a fighter. And I was like, I was so quick to fight. And even now, and I told you, I have a hard time holding back. And I said, when I'm trying to understand, like, what Jesus was saying, I understand why he wanted us strong. And then, and I think, but I don't know how to articulate it as well as that guy did. I saw one of his videos. Scott Peterson
knows how to take that biblical stuff into a different context for us to go, oh man, I get that.
Yeah. So you know what he said? He goes, men need to be monsters, but they also know how, because when you have a point of view, you have to be a monster and be aggressive and be a monster, and people need to be afraid. But at the same time, you have to know how not to be a monster. And it goes back to that turning the other cheek, because that's what it is. Like, you can't let somebody hit you and then offer them the other cheek. You can't do that if you're weak. You got to be a monster in order to take 2 hits. No, but it's the truth. And that's what Jesus was meant, because the psyche thing is everybody speaks in parables. In the Bible, that's just how it goes. And if you don't really have that type of, like, I'm a numbers guy, so it's harder for me to read stories, and understand parables, because, it's a hard thing to do. Like, because, like, I just trip out on this stuff. Like, I don't get it. Like, why would, like, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, like the whole forbidden fruit and don't eat from this tree. And you know what I mean? It's like, I still don't really get it. But that said, but the whole thing, everybody knows about turning the other cheek and all that other stuff. That's pretty common knowledge. But when you really think about it, it doesn't mean like, oh, be a pansy and let somebody steal from you or anything else. No.
Yeah.
Like, and then when I saw that thing on the side of the building, I thought, you know what's really crazy?
What?
How is it that Chinese are Southern Baptists? No, because it literally said that it was the first Chinese Southern Baptist church on Clay and Hyde in San Francisco. And I'm thinking, wow, that's insane. But they had it in English because, I don't read Chinese or Mandarin or whatever it is. So they had it in Chinese and they also had it in English. And I'm thinking, see, I'm telling you, that abundance, like something about I came to give you life, and then, but also, and to give you life in abundance. That's the same thing I was telling you about. I think Jesus wants us to be buku rich so we can take care of those who can never work, who can never read, who can never do any of that stuff because they're mentally ill or because they're retarded. But being poor doesn't allow you to have charity. It doesn't.
Yeah.
But then if you're, have enough to be charitable after you take care of all the retardeds and all of the mentally ills, then guess what? You will take care of that single mom or somebody who passed away because that's the right thing to do. We'll start the orphanages, we'll start the hospitals and do all that other stuff. But then we don't do it for free, but we do it at discounted rates, something fair and equitable.
Yeah.
So that way nobody's ever exploited and everybody gets to share. You know what I mean? Because capitalism isn't just this thing where it's like, but it has nothing to do with socialism. Nothing. Like Christianity is about amassing wealth based on what is given to us. Because according to...
And we're given a lot to work with. We're given the planet. You really harvest your harvest.
No, but exactly. No, but think about this.
That's true.
It's really harsh in the beginning. And then like by the fifth and sixth day, things get very less harsh and God starts doing all these things on the fifth and sixth days. So the first 4 days, harsh planet, but then he gives us all kinds of stuff for quote unquote an abundant life. And I'm using the word abundant because I saw it on the wall, so an abundant life, so like everything from the waters to all that stuff. So our understanding of climate science is bogus if it's not based on the Bible, because the Bible is actually the most accurate in explaining how things work. So in Genesis, it totally explains how everything is recycling. Everything is, so like reproducing. Everything reproduces. So we will never run out of oil. Why? Because oil is always reproducing. It is not a fossil fuel. It doesn't come from old dinosaur bones.
I never got that. And you articulated that a few months ago. I'm like, you're right. Like, does carbon like fossils don't produce? I mean,
that's why nobody understands it, because they don't understand it. And I'm thinking, Jesus, how is this Bible so scientific? Because because honestly, we all think it comes from somewhere. But everything reproduces everything. So everything is, in theory, alive in some way or some form. Even the 6-day people were alive, but they weren't us, because we have a real spirit, a real soul, whereas the other humans did not. They were probably just like the whales or oil or other lives that kept reproducing. Everything is alive.
The only thing that I can't help but think, right, is that
even dirt reproduces.
I feel like in the Bible, from how it's written, right, there were humans created on the 6th day, and then God 7th day and rested, and then he created Adam and Eve. But the only thing, and again, this is not that important. I mean, it's important, but it's not going to make or break your faith. It's just, I was curious, like, couldn't God have also created Adam and Eve on the 6th day? Like, or is, I mean, because you're right.
No,
you are right. You are right in that it happens after. He says then he created Adam, and then while he slept, he took a rib and created Eve, and
Well, no, but no, it's real specific. When God came back, he was gone on the 7th day. When he came back, let's call it the 8th day. It doesn't really say the 8th day.
Day 1 again. I mean,
yeah. So when he comes back from taking his break, he noticed the changes in the atmosphere. And he said, hey, you know what? I don't have a human that knows how to farm in this atmosphere. So I'm going to create another person, but make that person different. Well, that I'm paraphrasing. And that's what he did. He specifically made Adam different than he made the other humans. It literally says that in the Bible. And why? Because of the atmosphere, because of the change of the climate, because of the change of the animals, because there was farm animals and different types of seeds that came from the rains. So the rains created a different type of plant life. And that's what it says in the Bible. I'm thinking, how does everybody miss that? Except for those scientists who came up with all these theories and stealing from the Bible and not giving the Bible credit. Except for when I did my research, I guess the Big Bang Theory was invented or theorized by this Catholic priest. And it just seems like a lot of priests come up with all these theories, but they're not, I don't know. I honestly don't know why they're not giving.
He also placed Adam specifically into the Garden of Eden, separate from all the other animals and people and all that.
Yeah. No, but it's the truth, because think about it.
From Adam, at least our species of human.
But think about this. At that point in time, science tells us that we were in a great ice age. So Ethiopia is pretty close to the equator, if not damn close. You know what I mean? I forget, but because I want to look this up really quick. Like, where is Ethiopia?
We went from socialism to climate change real fast, but that's good.
Yeah, but here's the reason why. Because people like to Ethiopia from the equator.
Well, what you said yesterday about how carbon dioxide in a solid format is ice, like really cold.
Yeah, dry ice. No, but it's the truth. It is. Yeah. So it's super freezing cold. So a bunch of carbon dioxide is, because see, this is what people don't get. Methane burns quick. Why? Because it's also in sub-freezing temperatures, like super, super freezing temperatures. It's so like in order to boil methane, like, you know, farts, I guess, methane.
Farting cows, yeah.
You know, but it's a greenhouse effect. It melts at like negative hundreds, you know, like maybe negative 200 over.
In a vapor format, it's got to be super, super duper cold.
No, but negative 200 Celsius. You know what I mean? And then we're talking about Kelvin, and which I believe is he was wrong with his measurements, but because there has to be like a negative Kelvin has to exist. If the Bible's true, then negative Kelvin exists, because it's the only way to explain a lot of these things that are happening in the Bible. I'm telling you now. But anyway, so the left loves to claim to know the Bible, yet they ignore everything in the Bible when it comes to science, real science.
That's the point.
Because think about this. What's in volcanic ash? All the chemicals in it. You know what I mean? How is Bill Nye or anybody else, or what's that other guy, DeGrasse Tyson, how are those guys going to deny that a volcano is I don't want to say a billion, but
it's a big,
hundreds and hundreds of times more powerful than a nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
Serious, and more destructive.
Right.
All of our
just look at Pompeii. I mean,
yeah,
that's what happens to nearby civilization when you're in close proximity to a volcano.
Okay, so check this out. Ethiopia is 620 some miles away from the equator. That's really close to the equator.
Yeah,
so
that's real
it
close.
Would make sense that at that distance, Ethiopia might have been the first area, because of how the sun is with the position of the earth. It may very well have been the very first place where plant life could have grown, where we could have crops, because like, you know, like it's really hard to grow grapes in you know, like in England or Iceland, you know, because it's too cold. But because Ethiopia is really close to the center of the earth, Well, they could grow crops way better. It's not too hot. It's not too
because it's
cold.
temperate climate. The
Yeah, it's
precipitation
perfect.
regular. Yeah, it rains a lot near the equator. That's how it works.
Yeah, and it's a perfect spot because, it's at that point in time, how old the Bible is, it's perfect for growing foods and all this other stuff. So socialism believes in human-made climate change. Like humans are 100% responsible for the change in climate. The world is going to end. That's a bastardization of the Bible. And then they also believe that Jesus was a socialist, which is a bastardization of the philosophy of Jesus Christ. And that's what they do. That is what the left does. And that's why it's relevant. You can't separate climate change from Christianity, because why? Because both are addressed in the Bible. And if Christians don't start learning what's in the Bible and what Jesus actually meant, because it has to be literal, because a poor person, I was poor. And although I benefited from charity, nobody gave me charity like, oh, here's a $50 or here's $100. They always try to show me how to do things. Hey, let me show you how to do this.
They put you to work.
Yeah, well, not just that, but you know what? Like, I remember this one guy, like, and this could be, but he gave me and these two girls, because we were stranded in Berkeley once. Some manager of McDonald's, he gave us some hot chocolates, and he goes, look, I'm not saying anything, but you guys look like you need this. And, little things like that, acts of kindness, you know what I mean? And then it goes a long way from diffusing anger, because Cornel West was talking about why prisons are bad. Yeah, he's correct. Prisons are bad, but not for the reasons why he says it's bad. He's saying it's bad because, they want to control things. They want to imprison people in their way. But they're going to set a trap in your mind. They're going to imprison you in your own body, in your own home. Because a lot of people in San Francisco are prisoners in their own home. They won't go outside because they're afraid. So they are now prisoners in a socialist society. But, I will agree with them, because it was a crazy thing, because initially I was like, my gut reaction, yeah, we got to kill the child molester and child rapist and stuff like that. But then when I rationalized, I was like, you know what? We can honestly rehabilitate these people. If the philosophy of Jesus is true, then these guys could be rehabilitated. And, in all honesty, I've done it already. I've rehabilitated people like this, and granted, it takes a lot of physical strength to do it, but, and then it goes back to Peterson and what he said. Yeah, you have to be a monster sometimes. And then you also have to learn how not to be a monster. Right. Because that's the whole point. And I hate to say this, but, when you have a sexual deviation, you are a weak person. Even if you're physically strong, your mind is weak and you can be broken, even physically. Because even in a fight, the person who's more, as they say, mentally tough will win. If they can catch that guy sleeping, or as they say, catch that dude slipping. But anyway, yeah. This is very, very interesting. But because I don't want to dominate time, but because I'm like learning about this stuff. So this is what interests me. I think this is the most fascinating thing I've ever experienced in my life, is because I started off trying to steal something. And I'm like, crap. You know what I mean? And then every thought I had wasn't original. It was always in the Bible. I just never knew it. You know what I mean? Like, nobody knows these things, but then it's hard. It's still, even though it's still hard to believe. Why? Because
in the very beginning, before there was anything else that we know, that word was always there. God's word has always been there. That's why when you say, wait a minute, all this stuff came from here? Yeah. Creation itself.
No, but like, I always
live instructions for how humans need to live appropriately and and not just survive. thrive, like actually be thriving with
as it said on that church, abundant.
That's what I
with
mean,
abundance.
with abundance, not like
that's
just
insane.
thrive. No, live with abundance.
No, but that's an insane thing to like. Why would somebody say that? You know what I mean? Like when you really think about it, it's like, why would anybody say that? Like that's an insane promise. But when you think about the science of the earth, then you understand why.
And if you think about the context of just let's forget like countries' economies. Think about resources, right? Think about what this planet has that if people, politics aside, could harvest it, you do live a life of abundance. There's more food on this planet that could feed the world's population 3 to 5 times over, just produced in 1 or 2 countries.
Exactly.
That should tell you about the sheer scale of what we have access to on this planet just to make things happen. So when God says, go and have domain over all these animals, and I command you to take care of them and grow the crops and till the ground and all that, it's like when he says you can live with abundance and, hey, buddy, you know what? You could give back a little bit as well. He's not asking for much. I mean, it's like this planet.
But that's the point. Everybody is supposed to participate in capitalism. Everybody. There is no excuse not to. There is no excuse. And I think that's the thing. We keep bailing out the lazy. You know what I mean? And
that's a good phrase. Keep bailing out the lazy.
Well, but
that's
look
what
at
the welfare state is. I mean,
yeah, no, but look at the new Green Deal. They're making it a cool thing. If you don't want to work, well, guess what? You're going to get this money. Andrew Yang wants to give free money. Why? Because he wants to incentivize the lazy. Because as long as the lazy exists, the unwanted will always be killed. Always. It doesn't matter if you're in the belly or you're just on the streets. The unwanted will be killed. And that is also big business. And that's why that kind of capitalism is wrong. It really is, because, you know, and it's kind of, no, but this is why I believe like, and then I'll go back to the whole thing about God being a judge. Like God already picked his winners and losers, all right? But then according to the Jews, it's the Jews. But according to Jesus, it's everybody on the planet who listens to what he said.
Right.
If you listen to what he says, you too can live this abundant life. Mm-hmm. And because like my gut's telling me that earth is heaven. I think we are in heaven, because you cannot deny the beauty of Hawaii or, you know,
Bali or the Grand Canyon,
yeah.
Yosemite. Yosemite is a trip, dude. Every time I go to Yosemite, it's a trip. It's just like, this is 300 or 150 miles away from the bay, and like that exists. Like,
dude, you could go like, because like since like the South Bay has this place called Alum Rock Park.
Yeah.
It is one of the baddest places on the planet. It's badass. It's beautiful as hell. You can do all kinds of stuff. You see this creek, and you can see fish, like real fish, wildlife. It's cool right there in Silicon Valley. It's hard not to call that heaven. Like, I can't imagine a better place. Like, I wouldn't want to live on a place where everything, like the street, because I'm like, when I was staying with these Tongans for a while, I had to go to their Tongan church, and you know, if you want to see the pearly gates, I say I do, like this Christian song. And then like, if you want to see the golden paths, I'm like, I don't, and I'm thinking, I don't want to see all that gold. You know what I mean? Like, I honestly like the trees. I like nature, but you know, but there's so much. It's just not like, I mean, yeah, like gold and jewelry is cool and all, but dude, like there's so much beauty on this planet. It's hard to believe that this can't be heaven. You know what I mean? Because I didn't think that's why communists are always fooling everybody, because they go, oh, if we all do this, it'll be paradise. No, it won't be paradise, because it's corrupt. Humans are corrupt. Communism would be paradise if humans were not corrupt.
Exactly.
The way to avoid this corruption is to follow that philosophy that Jesus started a long time ago. I almost said shitload. But a long time ago, he started this philosophy about economics, about, you know, how not to be a pervert,
Well, here's the. You know what? I'll keep going because I have to add to that. You're gonna.
Well, then it goes back to Romans, and then it talks. Okay, so well, real quick. Okay, so in order to, without knowing the Bible too well, the New Testament, it's Jesus says something about loving yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, economics, and how to treat the people who are in need, like the retarded and mentally ill, and how to think sexually. And if you follow those 4 steps, we will have heaven on earth. That's the only logical conclusion. You follow those steps with economics, not being so perverted. I mean, because he doesn't say not to have sex. He's just, says whatever. And if you're gonna,
he actually encourages you to be fruitful and multiply, but with your wife.
Yeah, and be respectful. Like, you just can't be getting divorces here and there because if you've done something, then you gotta allow her to. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, he teaches this fairness that a lot of people don't understand. Because it's true, like, like, hey, look, if somebody's bad, yeah, get the divorce, but also too, she can get the divorce if you do something bad. It's a two-way street. And those are like things that you're like, man, I'll just like those stories I can never shake from my head. But anyway, so long story short, if we do those things, and then, and how could I forget, turning the other cheek and offering the thief more, that's not because, oh yeah, let somebody steal from me. It's like, no, because you're supposed to go out there, teach them, blah, 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 because that's what you do. Like, you're not a good thief.
Because you got caught.
Well, not just that. If somebody has to give you more, you know what I mean? You're not a good thief. It's like, hey, look.
Yeah, I think all those steps because of the way we are. But here's the deal, to tie it back to the communism, right? Because here's the deal. Communism existed for all of just a little while when it was Adam and Eve, right? But here's the thing. When man fell, when there was sin that entered, then you had to have it this way that we're talking about. Because before then, when they were in the Garden of Eden, that was communism. It was just like, it didn't matter. You didn't have to work for anything. You didn't have to do anything. Everything that you needed to not just survive, but to thrive, rule over everything, right? Man doing this was already in existence. But what happened when man sinned? They got cast out of the Garden of Eden, and now they were forced to work, to till the ground. And then you had Cain murdering Abel. So all the flaws of humanity came in because of that. But what I'm trying to say is, the communism will only take effect when man isn't flawed, right? That's the only way, but that's impossible because of the way we are now.
But that's my point. It's like, I honestly believe nobody understood Moses. I honestly believe that because all of these crazy things were happening. Well, obviously, and this is the thing.
His people definitely did not obey him. Like, he'd say, no, God wants us to do it this way. And then you had 500,000 Israelites.
But then, see, the thing is why? See, and I always have to ask why. See, like, okay, so I understand why, Cain killed Abel. I totally understand that. And the reason why is because Adam was too naive. He was too, I don't want to say too fresh, but.
Well, you're the first human being on the planet. I mean,
yeah, like the first person with the soul, and I hate to say things like this because I know people think I'm crazy, but God admits to making mistakes, which is why he killed everybody off and all this stuff. I mean, it's a logical conclusion that God fixed his mistakes. So, like, with and that's why he chose Moses and gave him the 10 Commandments, because he was like, fuck, Adam was just too. He was too new, and it was, it's because you got to realize the mind can only take so much. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, and that's why I think Eve was able to trick him. You know what I mean? But it's the truth. I mean, because look, throughout history, the carnal mind has always been the downfall of virtuous men who are given favor. Because look at Samson. Yeah, that's one of the most famous ones, Samson.
Exactly. I know.
he had no weakness except for Delilah. But anyway,
no, and it also happened with King Herod, or not King Herod. Yeah, it might have been a Roman king with John the Baptist. Like,
yeah,
they were buds, and then his wife or whatever daughter convinced him that, like, no, you can't have this, and they beheaded him. He was like, they were pals.
I actually know that story.
Yeah,
because somebody told me that.
That story, no, and it's a good story, but it's the perfect illustration in a contemporary context as to the type of thing that a woman wields over a man. I'm not saying all women are bad, but like, that's the stuff that
I don't know if that was a true story or not, but yeah, if you're saying it, I believe it.
Yeah, dude, it's like, bring me John the Baptist's head on a silver platter.
Well, okay, so this is what I heard. I heard that,
I gotta reread the story. It's not clear in my head either, but go ahead.
Well, I heard Jesus and John the Baptist were like brothers or something like that. I don't know, but they're related.
They were raised similar, because Zachariah and his wife Elizabeth had John the Baptist, and then Joseph and Mary had Jesus. So,
are they related?
No, I don't actually. Oh, I wish I knew this. I feel like, gosh, I'm not. I gotta reread that.
No, somebody told me they were cousins.
They might have been cousins. Might have been cousins.
And then that chick had a thing for Jesus too, or something like that.
I don't know about that, but
no, but then that's what they said. But then something about John the Baptist, so they killed him over that bride, and then they went after Jesus because, you know, I don't know. But that was the thing, because I heard that they were both gifted or something like that. Like, I don't know, but like, obviously Jesus is the Son of God, but John the Baptist was also like one of those crazy spiritual
prophet type guys too.
Yeah, no, but like somebody famous. Not famous, but he had something like God chose.
Well, he would baptize people. That was his job. That was his role given him by God. He would baptize people.
Yeah, see, I don't know. Like, that's the thing. Like, I honestly don't know these stories, but I wish I did, because it's interesting. But
it's all in the Bible, man. You can just read it. It's all in there. Everything is in there.
Dude, it took me a year to read Genesis. You know what I mean? That's a lot of dedication.
Because you overanalyze.
No, but think about that. That's a lot of dedication. It's not an easy, because when you read a book that important, you just can't, because I'm telling you now, it's
okay. Well, I will say this: Genesis is an extremely dense book, right? There are some books in the Bible that are not as, like, you read Genesis, it took you that long. It's a heavy set book, but books like Psalms, they're songs, right? They're songs of Solomon. There's some books that are really, really short, and Genesis is also a long book too. It's a long book relative to other books of the Bible.
No, okay, I don't know that.
Yeah, it's not like all of them have 70 chapters, 67 chapters, or whatever. You know, Genesis has how many chapters? Like,
I don't even know. But that said,
Genesis is a massive book. Genesis has 50 chapters in it. That's
well, but see, my thing is, I'm still of the belief that the New Testament has to be very technical as well, because it's
you're gonna enjoy it. I tell you, just go.
Well, see, because the whole thing, I'm telling you now, it's our modern way of doing business is all based on that book, without a doubt. I mean, there's nowhere to. I mean, it's Christianity is how we base our economy, without a doubt.
Yeah,
but the thing is, how do you get people? And this is the question, like, we have to pose to everybody. How do we get, I don't want to say Christian leadership, but how do we get, I guess, like, the Christian leaders, or, like guys like Tucker Carlson, who claims to be a Christian, how do we get them to understand what it really is? Because
they have to be reading it more, because a lot of people are Christians, but they don't read the Bible. That's actually,
what's really bizarre?
You have to actually, it's obvious, but you actually have to be reading it every day.
But here's the thing. How come you get it? Because, like, I'm always baffled at your age and your understanding of so much. Because they, like, a lot of people say that. I've heard Joe Rogan say that about Candace Owens. Like, man, at her age, I was,
smoking pot. Like,
yeah. So, and it's amazing how you can do that. Like, but my thing is, your understanding or your ability to even have faith based on what you went through, my God, it's hard to not think that, you're meant to do other things as well, just not like talking on some kind of podcast or something, because if Candace Owens is doing this stuff, and
one step at a time, but I'll get there.
No, but it's crazy because it's not just her, but like everybody, you know what I mean? I don't want to pick on like Lisa Smiley or Joy Vila or Laura Chen or anybody like that, but I honestly don't know any Christian leadership that really because Cornel West is really quick at saying Jesus Christ says this or that.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, and they're technically right. And Christians never have an answer, but you actually do have answers, which is pretty amazing. And which is even more incredible because
it's very easy to cherry pick the Bible. That's the thing.
But you're missing my point. It's very difficult to do what you did. It took me twice as long to do what you did, which is, trying to get off the lust bandwagon. You know what I mean? But that's like, dude, you have no idea how strong you have to be to do that.
I'm not perfect. I can't say.
No, dude. I've been stabbed. I've had my skull cracked. Like my forehead, my eye socket, like it was shattered from my nose all the way up to the top of my head, shattered. Dude, I've been through stuff, and I'm telling you now, the hardest thing I've ever done is give up sex. You know what I mean? Just be dedicated to one person. That is the absolute hardest thing I've ever done. Even being homeless was easier than this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But nothing is as hard as this. Nothing. And you are doing it way more, because like I never had porn problem. I never even watched porn. I've seen it when I was a kid, but it was gross to me. I was like, what the fuck is this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell is this? And then, I'm thinking, and then when I seen porn as an adult, I'm like, this is the gayest shit I've ever seen. But that is, dude, you have no idea how strong you have to be. So that's what I'm saying. The Christian people never, ever take credit for their strength. Whereas guys like Cornel West or Peter Buttigieg or whatever his name is, Buttigieg, those types of Christians who have no understanding of, because even me with my limited knowledge of Christianity, even I understand the economics of it. Because like Bill Guy, when he talks about climate change, he automatically goes into economics, and then he'll go talk about Jesus. You know what I mean? That's what they do. It's all tied in together. It's all about economics. So guys like you who have this strength that has been given to guys like Samson, you know what I mean? It's like, you guys don't use it. And that's why it's like, guys like me probably never be Christian, because guys like me need leaders to follow. Like I said, I'm not an alpha male because I don't care about the weak. I don't. I only care about myself. That's the truth. So I can never be a leader, because alpha males, alpha dogs, alpha gorillas, any alpha will always care for the weakest. Mm-hmm. And that's what Jesus was saying. The message really isn't for everybody. I think the message was for the alphas. If you believe in science, and if you believe in alpha males, the message of Jesus is for the alphas.
It's for everyone. Let me correct you.
But this is the thing. See, now in Exodus, Moses lost his mind. But it doesn't say it, but because if you believe everything that it says in the Bible, and I swear to God, science proves it to be true. If you know anything about the theory of relativity and all this other stuff, but you also know about the muon particles and how it's actually the opposite in some situations. Yeah. So that actually happened to Moses. Moses lost his mind. He told Aaron, you have to speak for me. I'm going to tell you stuff, but you know what? Do your best to interpret it for me, because he lost his mind. So the thing is, the message of Jesus isn't for, it's for everybody, but God chooses the people who, I mean, not God chooses because God already knows, but certain people can automatically understand it. Like, I understand math better than most people, but I cannot understand the strength it takes to do some things that you can do that I can't do. So here's my thing. And knowing what alpha, because a lot of people don't understand what alpha is. Nobody understands it. Well, there has to be, some other scientists, biologists, whatever. But how I see the conservative, like red pill people describe beta and alpha, they don't get it. I believe, based on what the Bible says, very few people can be alphas. Those messages in the Bible are for the alphas to teach to everybody else, the same way Moses told Aaron to teach everybody else. And that's the thing. But right now, we have the negative alphas, because I can't think of another word, because, it's the inverse alpha. Cornel West, President Obama, Tucker Carlson, anybody, name any person. Even that dude, what's that guy from the 700 Club, Pat Robertson? Even that guy, those are anti-alphas because they don't know that abortion is just another way of saying killing. Nobody knows that, because once life starts, you got to protect it. You have to. That's literally in the Bible. Thou shalt not kill. It doesn't matter what it is. You just don't kill it. You just don't. Why? Because that's our test. We are given retarded people for a reason, and Jesus explains that thousands of years later. Because why? Because God figured out that doing the flood wasn't going to work. What he did to Moses didn't work. So he needed somebody who lived with him, his own son. And he goes, you know what? You have the ability to live in the inverse, because I'm telling you now, if you understand how the Kelvin system works, how things approach this absolute zero, things slow down. But what if it goes past zero to negative numbers? That is Jesus's mind. Jesus's mind is like the inverse. So because of that, he can come down to earth, live as a human being, and still have all this knowledge from wherever he comes from, because I don't know where he came from, but wherever he comes from, he actually witnessed, like Jesus had to have witnessed the creation of this universe. He had to have. It's the only way he could survive. And as articulate as he was, and do that whole fish thing, all of that stuff is literally possible if you understand the inverse of Kelvin. Right. It's the only way it's possible. So because the thing is, when you approach zero, things slow down. But when you pass negative zero, things will multiply. It will, in theory. But then it gets into this whole weird thing about the multiverses. But again, in the Old Testament, God set back time a day. So we know it exists. We just don't, and that's how Jesus did those miracles, because he was using his ability to travel through this, travel through that. And it's actually all theoretical physicists know that it is possible, with these multiverses, but because they don't believe in the Bible, they don't know that it's actually talked about in the Bible. Right. So, but anyway, it's neither here nor there. So Jesus's philosophies are too intense for most people because they are dealing with the carnal mind. And because of that, they will never fully understand Jesus's message, God's instructions. They can't. It's impossible. Because God, if you believe in what it says in Romans, remember we read that thing? I swear to God, that's like burned in my head. Because of that, right? We'll never, because trust me, if I'm struggling not to be lustful over other women, I am not thinking about anything Jesus says. I'm not. But for some odd reason, you have that type of strength to recognize it, stop it, and you still yeah, it's hard. Yeah, but guess what? You're still functioning as a young man. Dude, that's impressive.
It's hard. It's so
It
hard.
don't matter if it's
Because
hard.
I'm not gonna
You're
lie, like
doing it.
I'm a man. It's like I see a beautiful woman. I'm just like you know what I mean? Like
No, but
I have to look away. Like I legit. It sounds childish, but I literally have to be like I actually have to go do something else. Like I can't.
No, but think about this. You're still doing it though,
Yeah.
because look at other people your age. Who's doing what you're doing? I can't think of any.
Not many. There's people, but not many.
No. You are doing something unique versus all the other young people. Because all the other young people are just echo chambers. That's all they are. Well, I don't care if it's like all the people we talked about, because I don't want to sound like I'm bad-mouthing people, but they're just echo chambers of older people. They are being brainwashed. You are like the only person.
Right.
You know, because like even Ben Shapiro, Ben Shapiro's like, hey, look, I never had sex. I was abstinent until I got married, blah, 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 blah. He wasn't the first one to do that. It was AC Green from the Lakers who did it and all this other stuff. But then they were always saying, oh, we did this and we did that, da-da-da-da-da. And they still can't say the things that you're able to say, even though they were abstinent. Because like, look, you recognize all abortions killing. You recognize all these things that other people just can't recognize. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you're unshakable in your faith. And that takes a whole lot of strength. And that's why Jesus' message is too complicated for almost everybody, except for those few chosen alpha people, whether it's a girl or a guy. It don't matter. I don't think Jesus cares. But it's the truth. And then it's your guys' responsibility to teach the rest of us and to be our leaders. So that way things are getting done. You know what I mean? And then you keep it, because that's what leaders do.
Yeah.
That's why we elect a president. We elect mayors, because that's their job. They get money from the taxes, because the taxpayers don't want to deal with it.
And that's the thing is too, it should be at the end of the day here, a job that that's a job that not many people should want to do. See, that's also the thing about being a leader that I think we need to understand is too much in our culture now. People think what deems an appropriate leader is somebody who can speak eloquently, they're articulate, they're young, they're charming. Like, you know what I mean? Immediately you see all these things where people are like, oh, she's young and hip and can talk really well. She's our next president. It's like, get out of here. And I'm just going to say this right now. I'm okay if we don't have a woman president. All right. I'm just going to say that. I mean, please just don't judge me for, there are reasons for, it's like Ayn Rand said that perfectly. But anyways, that's besides the point. What I'm trying to say is a leader is somebody who goes through the trenches, cares about the weakest, think about it even in teams, right? It's like, it's not just I have the game plan, I have the strategy, and I'm the one who goes for the winning goal. Leader is not MVP. Leader is not even the person who is necessarily the most charming or whatever. It's the person who can actually keep it together and look out for the weakest, right? And leaders have to be, they got to be anointed. They got to be selected, right? It's not like, look, the military actually does a really good job at this that I think is lost in the civilian world, where it's like, dude, if you became a lieutenant, right, or a sergeant, a captain or whatever, if you're a non-commissioned officer or whatever, you have to earn that. Whereas now it's like, because you just hit a certain, and you can even buy your way in. You can buy your way into leadership.
After everybody above an E5 in the military is pretty much a politician. That's what sucks.
Yeah.
And that's what that's the only negative. In the old days, it wasn't like that.
No, it wasn't. Yeah. You earned it. You literally had to earn it. Yeah.
Like this body. Well, but then, in the old days, the military was very, like, it was like everybody believed in God in the military. Just what they did. And if they didn't believe in it, they'd keep it to themselves. Like I kept it to myself to the best of my ability, but I like to freak people out. So that's
the thing is, like, I think a lot of people need to understand, especially when we have these people who just become popular on the internet, social media, myself included, right? I tell people are like, oh, you got to run for office. I'm like, yeah, I'm not ready yet. Give me a few years to really work with people. There is a time and the place. It will happen. I will tell you this. It will happen. I'm going to say that right now. But It's like, okay, yeah, you got popular in the last year and you're smart and articulate and you know stuff. It's not this. I have a plan, and it's not going to just be, well, because you're popular. You should, like, people are like, oh, Candace Owens for president. I'm like, you're kidding me? Like, you haven't been through the trenches. You don't even know your constituents. You don't even have any solutions yet. I mean, right now, you just like to say things that people want to hear. You know, that really, like, I hate to say it, but unfortunately, most of the American mainstream operates off of what people want to hear, whether it's in the right or the left. You know, that's why I love Savage, because like when he talked out against Nikki Haley for like I was just like, it's one guy's opinion, but he's not wrong. Like, it's like, oh, well, she refused to incite another war in Syria, so she stepped down. You know, it's just like, dude, if you're in the right and you're concerned, like, no one would say that, because it sounds like you're attacking your own kind. If it's Savage, is just like, I don't care. This is my opinion.
But no, seriously, I like Savage. I really do. I can't get enough of that guy. I mean, not that I listen, but I really should listen to that guy, because, just for support, I think he needs it. But going back to what I said, and the solutions are already there. All the solutions for all our problems are already there. They are. They're all in the Bible. Well, not even in the Bible. It's in the New Testament, because obviously it didn't work. Seriously. The Old Testament didn't work. And why didn't it work? Because of the warlike nature of the Jewish people. They were too busy fighting wars and killing this, getting revenge on this, and blah, 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 because they didn't understand the 10 Commandments, because it's complicated. You know, the whole thing about thou shalt not covet this and that. But then, so because of that, the solutions the right has is all convoluted. You have to keep it simple. Like, I'm pretty sure it's pretty complicated, but like the whole story about the divorce, like when those Jews asked Jesus, who was also a Jew, about divorce.
Yeah. That's
actually a complicated thing that I probably couldn't do off the top of my head. It'll take me a week or so.
Right.
But my point of bringing up that story is the solutions are already in the New Testament. Whatever Jesus was saying, it's already there. You know that stuff. And I bet you money, if you turn to that more often, I bet you money you would be a politician elected really quick, because it's not so much that you have to be in the trenches. You honestly have to understand what it says in that Bible and how it applies in real life.
Right.
Because I get it. Like the money changers thing, I totally get it, because that's Venezuela. You know what I mean? No, seriously, because and just like that video I sent you yesterday about those the Mexicans taking arms. They took arms, they drove out those people. That's a biblical story. And even those Mexicans even said, yeah, we did it in the same vein of the Templar Knights, which was a bastardization of what Jesus was saying, but still biblical, and it worked. I don't know if it'll continue to work, but then they said they'll put down their arms. But but that's my point. Every economic solution is already in the Bible. It's I think for you, it's do you believe it or not?
Right.
Because that's all it is. Everything, because I know, like, because of your age, you haven't had like real success in businesses. I've done a lot of things in business, but I don't know. I think all of my successes, were foolish because I had no biblical knowledge. But now that I have it, I'm thinking, dude, I'm going to be rich. No, like richer than rich, like richy rich, but
get that money.
But then I'm not charitable, so maybe not. But my point is this. Well, because, I guess you reap what you sow. But that said, if you honestly believe in that stuff, I don't see how you can't win. Because all you got to do is get your answers from the Bible, and you will win. Because it all applies. It's amazing how modern that Bible is. I'm thinking,
timeless. It's timeless. It was true 2,000 years ago, just as it is today.
yeah, no, but seriously, I went in there just to steal a story. You know what I mean? And just twist it up. And I'm thinking, well, how
You got more than you bargained for, didn't you?
Yeah, and well, no, I got my story is just a twist on Genesis. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Like, wait a minute, this has already been done a few times. Like, darn it.
yeah, no, but everybody will still think it's fresh and still think it's brand new because they just never understood it that way.
Yeah.
And no one ever, and that's the thing. And because, man, I'm telling you now, like the stories in the Bible that are phenomenal would be Noah, because obviously it's true, because we found all the remains. We found 9-foot skeletons of human beings. You know, the giants
Yeah.
that were wiped out in the floods. And so we found all that. And all over the world. It wasn't just one area. There's been 9-foot skeletons all over the world found.
Giants, dude.
Yeah,
David fought one. David fought a giant. Like, they exist.
Yeah,
they walk
9
amongst
feet
us.
tall.
They walk
Dude,
amongst us.
That's taller than a story. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, man.
you're like literally your head's on the second floor. Think about that's how tall 9 feet is. That's insane. You know, that all that guy, like his head is touching the bottom of the net in a basketball court. You know what I mean? That's insane. That's an insane height.
But they walked amongst us. They exist. They were talked about.
But it's amazing how that, like, dude, like I'm telling you now, like that story of the flood is more relevant than people realize. Like, people gloss over Noah, like if it's not that important, but it is, because God destroyed what he created.
Yeah.
For a reason. And he's given us a second chance. And that's why I'm telling you, like, I know that story of Jesus is real and that the Muslims are just straight up evil people, because, you know, they literally twisted what Jesus said so they can go ahead and start killing people who were black. You know what I mean? That's what they did. They literally, it's just a racist group of hillbillies who are just out to kill black people because they feel gypped from their version of the Bible, because maybe, you know, maybe Muslims were like, you know, like the Samaritan people. You know what I mean? Like the Samaritan people were bad people. It's kind of weird though. You know what I mean? How like everybody assumes Samaritans are, you know, good. Oh, the Good Samaritan.
The good, well, because that comes from a story in the Bible where a Samaritan helped a Jew.
Well, not just that, but hold on. There was one Good Samaritan out of all the Samaritan people. That's why it's called the Good Samaritan, because there was only one good one according to the Jews. And I think something like that. See, like the Muslims were considered to be like Samaritan-like people. And that's why they hate the Jews, because they twisted everything that Jesus said, and then they used it to go ahead and combat and start killing Jews.
Yeah.
And that's why they're just straight up evil people, because that religion is just wacky. It's a wacky because it's true. It's like, why do they live the way they live? Because they're wacky and crazy. They want that socialism type bullshit, and that's why they are the way they are. Their economic system was designed that way to maintain that type of power that is rampant in Jewish communities, because it's not really like about the individuals. It's the power, and even in Israel, it's the government tells you what to do. You know what I mean? And it's not really like their powers don't come from God or anything like that. Their rights, you know, you got to get everything okay from the government first. Whereas in this country, we are going that way where we have to get permission from the government to even build a house. Mm-hmm. That's bullshit. It shouldn't be that way. It should be the way how I'm assuming, because I don't know for sure, but I'm almost positive Jesus said it's okay to build a house.
Right.
Without permission, because you need it for this and that, da-da-da-da-da. But you know what I mean? But in the Jewish stuff, all these rules and regulations, Muslims, rules and regulations, China, rules and regulations, because it's communism. Right. Yeah. So wherever you see communism, socialism, even in India, with all those Hinduism type stuff or whatnot, although they do believe in a great flood, which is kind of weird.
So I was going to add to that, all civilizations talk of a great flood because it really happened. It happened in history.
Yeah, that's weird though. You know what I mean?
Why?
It's like if they
No, because it actually happened. I mean, people were around when that went down. You know, it's not like mankind didn't exist and mankind got wiped out. But
well, see, but then it goes back to my point. I honestly believe that. See, but that's my point. So if Jesus honestly saw the creation of the universe, which is my opinion, then that means there's other God, like, you know, like all the other gods that God was talking about in Moses' time with the pharaohs and stuff like that. Those gods had to have existed. And I think like the Indian people were a witness to the destruction of the planet and the destruction of their gods. You know what I mean? Which is probably why India is still in bad shape. Because you know what I mean? Like India is really poor. Even though all those people are educated and they have a lot of knowledge, but they still suffer. Like, you know, and it's a third world country. You can't deny that. And that's why it's amazing. Because America's filled with a bunch of stupid people. I mean, because if you look at India, look at China, you know, they're well educated, well beyond American kids. And, you know, but yes, somehow, some way, the only Christian nation on the planet is it's the only superpower left. And it kind of, that's why I'm telling you, like, that's why I think, like, yeah, I don't know. It's just a weird thing. 'Cause I don't want to sound like a religious nut because you do, like, it sounds crazy. Without the math, without the science, just talking religion really just sounds crazy. But you can make educated guesses and why the United States is the best country in the history of this planet. Not Israel, not Egypt, not Ethiopia, but the United States. And I believe it's because the founding fathers probably understood the New Testament better than anybody in the history of time, in the whole history of this planet. Because the Catholic Church, with all their popes and everything else, they held back. You know, come on, they thought the earth was flat, even though it clearly says it's a sphere. Like, how do you get sphere into flat? But they denied science. They were the ones that did all this stuff. So that's why Rome fell. That's why, you know, Italy is Italy. You know what I mean? It was part of the axis of evil, or not axis of evil, the Axis powers in World War II, Mussolini. Right. And he joined Hitler. And that's Rome, you know what I mean? It's like, come on, that's the Catholic Church. And how was that even possible? Because they weren't real Christians. They just weren't. Right. I'm not saying Catholics aren't Christian because they believe in Christ, but again, like I said, very few people can honestly understand Jesus the way you do, or like the New Testament like you do. And that's why very few people can be leaders. It's just everybody can believe and do the multi-level marketing thing, but that's why it's multi-level marketing, because it only could be one guy at the top. And then those guys at the second, third, fourth tiers, they have to be true to the dude on the top, because when it goes filtered down, it filters down, and then it gets into a mess. You know what I mean? You can't have the dudes at the bottom of the pyramid, you know, being your leaders. They just can't. And that's how we're not designed for that. We're just not, because as long as we're having a hard time dealing with our nuts and vaginas, there's no way that those dudes at the bottom like myself could ever lead. Because I know me, I'm going to, you know, put me in a room and I'm going to be leading a bunch of hot chicks. Oh, man, forget about it. You know, I'm leading them to a hotel or the hot tubs. You know what I mean? So, but, you know, but guys with real strength and real understanding of the Bible, because dude, I'll never understand the Bible. I think I'm going to stop reading it after Exodus.
No, keep reading it.
No, because seriously, I think I have enough to finish my story. And then, you know, because I already know me already. You know what I mean? I'm old. I'm done. But that said, but guys like you who are better than me, oh, dude, you can do anything you want. You know what I mean? Like, you honestly have the keys to heaven. But you can make heaven here on earth for everybody. Not me. I'm going to create hell for everybody. No, because this is what I've been doing my whole life. That's what I've done. I've done nothing but bad. So, but it's the truth. But that's what these guys on the left are doing. See, I'm like,
that's a good way to take it back, because we got to wrap this up. People are going to fall off.
So I'm wrapping it up right now. So all the dudes, like, this is the difference from street conservatives. Like, I am from the Harvard, Princeton, Yale, from the street, with my bastardization of the Bible, and the left with this Christian left and guys like Cornell. They are the Harvard, Princeton, Yale of Darwin.
Right.
That's what these guys are. And then they try to use Darwin as the Bible, blah, 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 blah. And that's why there's racism, economic disparity, all this stuff that we're supposed to be fighting, but we don't, because all of us, the street conservatives and that street conservatives, regular conservatives like Tucker Carlson, No,
and the thing about the Darwin thing is the racism that we know today, right, is interesting, because back in those days, before Darwin, the prejudice that you felt between people who were different from you had nothing to do with race, but everything to actually do with different belief systems. You had a different God, so screw you. You know what I mean? That was literally the only dividing factor. Now it's not just that, but it's skin color. But that came as a result of progressivism, because back then they didn't care. It was just like, think about what Paul was doing when he went to all the Greek islands, Greek colonies, preaching the gospel and everything. Like, dude, we don't care. Jew or I'm serious. That's what he said. Jew or Gentile, it don't matter. But Darwin comes in and all of a sudden deems one race of people better than the other. And there's a trickle down effect in the Western world. And that's why we have the racism we have today. Back then, people were tribal, but because of their gods. Not because of races of people. It's just like, dude, we don't believe in the sun god Ra. We believe in the Hebrew God. So, I'm out of here. Like that's what divided people back then. It was just like, dude, if I don't listen to my God, he's going to punish me. But now the racism that exists is because of Darwin. 100%. Modern racism comes from him.
Yeah, that's insane. That is insane. And yet somehow, some way, nobody knows it. Nobody knows it but us. That's what I feel like.
I think people do it, but they haven't said anything. They have to think and go, oh, yeah. But, because it's not a popular thing. You say this on CNN, people are like, get out of here.
No, but like, I read it on your thing. Somebody literally said on the comment to you that Darwin was a scientist. Yeah, he was a racist scientist. He was a scientist doing racism. You know what I mean? That's just like saying, oh, this Muslim dude's not a racist because he's a man of faith. No, he's a racist man of faith. Yeah, that's just how it works. I mean, people are idiots, but but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I hate to think that people are idiots. Like, I like to give them the benefit of the doubt, but when I look around and see things, I'm thinking, oh crap, we are doomed.
We're in trouble. Yeah. But that's a good way to put it there, guys. Thank you for listening to the American Made and Paid show. I know we get into a lot of stuff here, religion and otherwise, but I hope you got a good takeaway from this, as far as the twisting of language and belief systems. We'll see you in another episode tomorrow to wrap up this week. But this is episode 34. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.